Hello and thank you for joining us for this Boston 25 News In-Depth Consumer Special. I'm Jason Law. Boston 25 News is committed to finding ways to save you money. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to have lots of tips and a few consumer warnings. We're going to start with your utility bills. Analysts say it's going to be a lot more expensive to heat your home this winter. We found 4 devices that you can get for free right now that can shave some dollars off your next bill. We visited National Grid's Sustainability Hub in Worcester to learn more about these free devices. The first is called an advanced power strip. It looks similar to a traditional surge protector, but this power strip will reduce your vampire energy use, the electronics that sap your power even when you're not using them. Leah Berger with National Grid says the advanced power strip will reduce your electricity bill by $50 every year.
We encourage this to be installed, like I said, in the scenarios of like a TV, home entertainment system, or a computer with other systems attached to it.
The next 2 devices will help cut back on your water bills. One is a low-flow shower head. The other is a faucet aerator for your bathroom and kitchen sinks. Berger says if you use a lot of hot water, these devices will reduce your heating bill and cut your water consumption by 20 to 30%.
A low-flow shower head can significantly reduce your water consumption, so you're going to save on both your water bill and your energy bill because you're reducing the amount of hot water.
And finally, MassSave offers a free programmable thermostat.
Now, I would think out of the 4 devices we just looked at, this is probably the most important as far as saving money.
This digital thermostat will allow you to remain more consistent and efficient with your heat. Berger says for every degree you lower your thermostat, you can cut 1% off your heating bill, and that can really add up over the course of a long winter.
Overall, if you were to implement, 2 or 4 or just one of those devices, I think you're going to notice an improvement.
Taylor Lubre is the manager of the Sustainability Hub.
All of those things add up, and over time, you're going to see the savings. It's going to reduce the amount of energy that you're using.
Again, all of those devices are free and offered through MassSave's home energy assessments. To make an appointment, we've posted a link in the article for this story on Boston25news.com. But what exactly does a home energy assessment look like? We wanted to know, so we tagged along on one to see how it works and how it can help you save. Boston 25 tagged along on a home energy assessment in Cambridge. MassSave energy specialist Michael Oliver started in the basement, checking the home's boiler, washer and dryer, and ceiling, looking for leaks.
So I'll include that in the report. Basically, each bay, they can seal and insulate.
We then followed him upstairs.
Yeah, so this kitchen was probably renovated at some point.
He used a thermal device to check for more leaks in rooms with no insulation.
Have you had any complaints about the 3rd floor being too hot in the summer?
Finally, Oliver checked the attic.
But we should be all set in here.
The whole inspection, top to bottom, took about 30 minutes. The homeowner was left with a list of recommendations to improve the home's energy use.
This program is very popular right now.
Kate Peters is the director of residential energy efficiency for Eversource. She says home energy assessments can help residents cut their energy use by 10 to 20%.
With fuel costs up across the board, it's really important to look for ways that you can reduce your energy use, which will help you save money, but then also make your home more comfortable.
We recently toured National Grid's Sustainability Hub in Worcester. A company spokesperson said National Grid, Eversource, and MassSave will conduct close to 90,000 home energy assessments this year. Some of the changes are relatively cheap, like switching to LED light bulbs. Other changes, like adding insulation, can be pricey, but will help you save down the road.
Getting a new heat pump, getting solar panels, getting an EV, upgrading all of your insulation. Those are costly investments, but that's exactly what they are, right? They're investments. They're going to give you a return. You're going to see the payback on those.
And you can save on some of those bigger investments up front as well. MassSave has an incentive program for renters and low-income homeowners that can cover part of the costs. You can find the link to apply for that on Boston25news.com as well. Now let's talk solar energy now. Rising utility costs and new tax incentives are making solar power even more popular. You may be wondering if now's a good time to switch, so we broke down the numbers to help you decide.
This beast going to the gas station.
From charging 2 cars to cooling his Canton house, Larry Lukashevitz is now doing it all
with power from the sun.
My catalyst was I follow the stock market and the energy market, and I just foreseen the cost of energy going through the roof.
A growing number of frustrated utility customers are now looking into solar power systems.
It's definitely been on the increase and the rise because people are complaining about utility rates hikes.
Traditional power sources are expected to soar this winter. Home heating oil up 19%, natural gas 21%, and wholesale electricity 20 to 60%. With New England on the high side.
Rising costs are only half the equation. Generous new incentives are making solar cheaper. Right now, you can get a 30% federal tax credit if you install solar equipment. That's around $6,000 off a $20,000 system. And that's not all.
There's a $1,000 tax credit available from the Massachusetts state level.
This money is out there, and it's sitting out there, and people are taking advantage of it. And if you're not looking into it and figuring out how you can take advantage of it, you're leaving it on the table.
John Walke is with Green Roots, an environmental advocacy group based in Chelsea.
We've seen recently a lot of disruptions in our electrical grid. We've seen failures at substations, and if you want to keep the power on, generate your own power.
It used to take upwards of 7 years for an investment in solar power to pay off. But the combination of the tax credits and rising utility prices is changing that. Thomas Janowski is the Director of Engineering for Devlin Energy in Hingham.
Actually, with the rate increase, is getting to a shorter period of time. So, I would say it's a much better time to go solar than it ever has been.
Solar might be hot, but for most of us, it's a new frontier.
When it comes to solar panels, I think we're all sort of in the dark. This is all new to a lot of people, and so it's daunting.
Walke's advice, scour the Mass Clean Energy Center's website. You can find contractors in your area and access a calculator to estimate your payoff window.
We recommend that you have at least half of the lifespan of your roofing shingle product left before you go and make the investment to go solar.
A backup battery like Devlin installed here in Canton can also be a good idea.
I can basically run all night off the grid right through the morning, and by sunrise it's recharging again. In the summertime I'll be getting some nice kickbacks from Eversource.
And that battery system right there, that is also eligible for the 30% tax credit. The credit is all part of the Inflation Reduction Act, which was signed into law this past August. It's going to be available through 2032, so you have some time. Boy, a dangerous incident in a Watertown basement. A man says his washer machine exploded.
There were clothes all sort of mangled inside the machine. There were pieces that had flown out of the machine onto the floor.
Coming up, we uncover more incidents involving the same manufacturer, the company's response after we started asking questions. Finding a good deal on a car is tough right now. Should you pay more for certified pre-owned? The consumer warning about getting what you pay for. And it could finally be time to buy that home you've been looking at. Coming up next, the 3 things you should know before putting in your offer when this Boston 25 News In-Depth Consumer Special returns. Welcome back to our Boston 25 In-Depth Consumer Special. I'm Jason Law. A Watertown man contacted Boston 25 News after he said his washer machine exploded in his basement. We went to the company for answers and discovered a history of complaints.
Why don't we try to turn this around?
Jeff Poulos shows us what's left of his mangled washer machine.
It shot out of the machine and was all over the floor.
The washer is a twisted, broken mess after Poulos said it exploded during a cycle. The machine is a Maytag front loader. Poulos said he purchased it in 2014 and in 8 years never had any problem until this happened.
There were clothes all sort of mangled inside the machine. There were pieces that had flown out of the machine onto the floor.
Boston 25's sister station in Orlando reported on a similar incident in October 2019.
I thought a bomb had gone off in the house.
Thelma Chatty said she came home to find her 6-year-old Maytag front-load washer blown apart.
Don't even want to think about what could have happened. Every time I pass by and I look at it, I get angrier.
It's unclear how often Maytag machines pose this kind of risk. But according to records from the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the company has had problems in the past. Maytag issued a recall of 5,000 front-load washing machines in 2005 because the spinner could malfunction and break apart if the washer was used at its maximum load capacity. One customer reported a front-load washer burst open and left a hole in their ceiling in February 2022. In 2019, a consumer reported their Maytag washer went out of control, causing a blowout of plastic panels to fly off and hit the walls. In all of these CPSC complaints, the sections labeled comments from the manufacturer were left blank.
Thank goodness that there was nobody in that room when that let go.
Appliance repair advisor Mike Menino said counterbalance weights inside the machine can cause vibrations and rocking, but it's rare for one to cause this much damage.
Just a very, very high rate of spin, and
that's a lot of force.
It's a tremendous amount of force.
This is the actual dispenser that has the laundry detergent had flown out.
Jeff Poulos also suspects the damage was caused by a cement weight that malfunctioned.
And I noticed the cement block was loose, and when I moved the machine, the block actually fell. The block is not supposed to be loose.
He said he contacted us because the problem is too dangerous to be ignored.
I'm lucky I wasn't down here. Lucky we don't have kids that were down here. Somebody could have gotten damaged by pieces that were flying.
And after our interview, Poulos told us that Maytag came out to collect the machine from his home. Here's what a spokesperson for Maytag's owner, Whirlpool, told us in a statement. Quote, although we are still analyzing the product and cannot speculate about what happened with this particular product, Whirlpool is committed to delivering safe, innovative products to customers. Poulos said that the company did compensate him for the washer machine and all the clothes that were destroyed. Up next, no credit card, no problem. Buy now, pay later programs are popular as budgets get tight. We wanted to know if they're worth the hype.
It sounds a little too good to be true, but yeah, I'd be very interested.
If I can't afford it, I'm not buying it.
We're going to talk to a local consumer expert for his take on the risks and rewards. Plus, the term certified pre-owned is thrown around a lot in the automotive world. Is it worth paying more for? The #1 piece of advice if you're in the market for a used car. When this Boston 25 News In-Depth Consumer Special continues. Welcome back to our In-Depth Consumer Special. I'm Jason Law. A warning if you're in the market for a used car. Do you really know what you're getting when you buy a certified pre-owned vehicle? We found paying more for a certified car doesn't always pay off in the end.
We see the word at dealerships all the time, but what exactly does certified mean?
The word certified gets used pretty often these days, and yet when you dig into what it means, it doesn't mean much if they haven't done the things they were supposed to do.
Kevin Brassler is the executive editor with Consumer's Checkbook. Brassler says only a new car dealership can offer a manufacturer certified used vehicle, and the requirements for those certifications change depending on the company. Other independent sellers can apply their own certification labels with their own list of checks. But Brassler says don't be fooled into thinking certified always means problem-free.
A lot of consumers have been lulled into a sense of security thinking that, oh, this is a good car. They've promised they've done all these checks. But in fact, the promise is only as good as the dealer selling the car.
Consumer's Checkbook reviewed lawsuits and complaints filed with the Better Business Bureau. They found certified cars with unreported crashes, flood damage, even one car that was used as a federal crash test vehicle.
Those cars should never have been certified and probably shouldn't be back on the market, and yet they were promised as being, certified cars, having, passed all these rigorous checks that really weren't done at all.
I would never buy a certified car because it usually means you're paying a lot extra.
Rosemary Shahan is the founder of the advocacy group Consumers for Auto Reliability and Safety. What would be your advice to people who are in the market right now for a used car?
The best thing is save your money, get your own inspection, find out, everything you can about the condition and history of the car, and then decide whether you really want it or not.
All right, now keep all this in mind. A lot of dealers will give you a grace period when buying a used car. Brassler says you should always use that time, again, to hire your own mechanic. It's possible you could get charged a restocking fee if you ultimately decide to return that vehicle, but at least you'll get another set of eyes on that car or truck and you'll know you're not getting a lemon. All right, switching gears now, you may have heard the term buy now, Pay Later. It became a lot more popular during the pandemic, and it continues to grow thanks to inflation. But Buy Now, Pay Later companies do not have to follow the same rules as other lenders. A federal agency is looking to make some changes, though, that could impact you.
Not all of the Cambridge shoppers we talk to have heard of Buy Now, Pay Later programs.
I don't know if I have heard of that.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty bad idea, to be honest. It sounds a little too good to be true, but yeah, I'd be very interested.
It's not something I'd put myself in that kind of situation for. If I can't afford it, I'm not buying it.
But Joyce Watson is a fan.
I bought myself a pair of pants and 2 matching shirts for my dad and me.
Watson paid for the clothes using one of the most popular Buy Now Later lenders, Afterpay.
Used them before, had great experiences.
Here's how Buy Now Pay Later lenders typically work. They pay for your item and you get it right away. You pay them back, usually in 4 installments. There's no interest, but there are late fees.
It's pretty more convenient, I guess, than buying it on credit or having to have your credit score pulled or something like that.
And particularly because of inflation, it seems like more and more people are using this because they get to pay smaller amounts for things they want each couple of weeks.
But Somerville-based ConsumerWorld.org editor Edgar Dworsky says the concept has some pitfalls when it comes to consumer protection.
You may lose some of your consumer rights that you typically get with a credit card, to charge back goods if they don't arrive, to charge back goods if they're defective.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has concerns about Buy Now, Pay Later as well. It says it's usually harder for you to dispute charges than when you use credit cards. Some lenders tack on multiple late fees on the same missed payment. Some track users' shopping habits and then sell the data. And lenders tend to say yes to people who shouldn't qualify. The Bureau is eyeing more rules to combat these concerns and treat them more like credit card companies.
If you don't have the money to afford the things up front and you buy a lot of stuff, how are you going to afford it over the next 2 months? You really need to set a budget for yourself.
Watson had an issue with a product she paid for that never arrived. Still, she says she's against more regulation. She worries the lenders might make it harder for customers to land Buy Now, Pay Later loans.
Now that you brought it up, it's very frustrating because I do like to shop.
In a statement, Afterpay said it, quote, welcomes appropriate regulatory protections for consumers. The company says it's already taken certain steps, like capping late fees on its own. You would think that drastically higher interest rates would be bad if you're in the market for a new house, but one realtor told me that there are benefits to these higher rates.
And what I've also been seeing is sellers start to do repairs or give a credit back for those repairs. That is something that I have not seen in probably over 2 years.
The perks to buying a house right now and the contingencies that are coming back when our Consumer Special returns. Welcome back. As interest rates climb and the number of mortgage applications plunge, one realtor says things are looking a lot better for prospective home buyers. In November, the rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage was around 6.25%, more than double the 3.09% rate this time last year. Yes, you will pay more for a house now than you would have 2 years ago. But home buyers can actually benefit from these higher interest rates. A realtor told me that right now is actually the best time for buyers because those same interest rates are starting to make sellers nervous.
House hunting should be fun. It should not be stressful. And the last 2 years has been uber stressful for a ton of people.
In this YouTube video, Boston realtor Mike Urban wonders if we're finally in a buyer's market.
Is it becoming more of a buyer's market?
It's heading in that direction.
Urban says more homes are starting to sit on the market for longer periods of time, and buyers are finally feeling more power at the negotiating table. For example, he says more sellers are offering to pay closing costs.
Buyers are using that as a negotiation tactic. You could either negotiate the sale price or sometimes you could even negotiate getting those closing costs paid up front.
For years, we've told you about the risk of waiving your inspection contingency. But now, Urban says buyers are no longer feeling the pressure to waive inspections. He's also seeing more sellers offering to pay for repairs.
And what I've also been seeing is sellers start to do repairs or give a credit back for those repairs. That is something that I have not seen in probably over 2 years.
And Urban says fewer buyers feel the need to put down a 20 or 25% down payment.
Now we're seeing borrowers only put 3.5%, 5% down, and then they're using the rest of that money to buy furniture, to do renovations, to do whatever. And that is another benefit of the market that we're heading into for buyers.
And because the higher interest rates have driven away a lot of buyers, Urban says there's less competition. And because there's less competition, there's less pressure to act quickly and perhaps buy something you're not totally in love with. Well, that does it for us. Thank you for joining us for this Boston 25 News In-Depth Consumer Special. We hope you found some good tips and some new ways to save some money. I'm Jason Law. For all of us here at your local station, take care.